Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I just want to warn you that your XRP and crypto profits could be taken from you legally to a degree that you are perhaps not expecting if legislation that is being proposed is ultimately passed. Now, potential good news is that even if this is passed, it's probably not going to happen until after this bull portion of this market cycle is over. But there are still going to be implications moving forward, because I think there are a lot of people that don't come from, like, let's just say a wealthy background, that are in crypto and they do see it as a path to prosperity. And what you're going to find is, if that ends up becoming a reality for you, you are the rich person, which makes you the enemy suddenly. And so there's a lot to say on this. I'll try to not make this video too long, but here's a headline from the Daily Hodl. Ray Dalio warns shocking tax changes could be coming to Bitcoin, crypto, and gold investors. And so as I go through this, I'll share my opinions along the way, but I got to tell you, I don't know for sure what I'll do, but if some of these changes ultimately come to pass, it's going to definitely affect to what degree I'm willing to hold my XRP indefinitely. Because some of this could get super duper wacky here, as I will be illustrating. Now, I want to be clear that I don't have any sort of accounting or legal background or anything like that. So I'm happy to share with you my everyday Joe Schmo opinions, but this is not to be taken advice as to like how to handle your taxes or anything like that. You absolutely need to speak with a professional, because I'll do my best to share with you, again, not just my opinion, but the facts as I have interpreted them, but it's just from a lay person. So just understand that I'm operating in good faith, but there could be mistakes along the way. And also, I don't have a financial background of any kind, so you should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast in the space who likes to make YouTube videos as a fun hobby, but that's all it is. And so let's jump in. Hedge fund veteran and billionaire Ray Dalio is warning Bitcoin and gold investors to prepare for potentially large tax changes. In a new LinkedIn article, the Bridgewater Associates founder says he believes U.S. policymakers may begin utilizing the tax code to move capital away from store of value assets and into debt-based assets as the government tries to raise more money. Oh, and by the way, let me mention this too. I've got some comments from David Schwartz, who is Ripple's CTO, co-creator of the XRP ledger. On the it'll be towards the later part of this video, but I've got comments from David Schwartz on the tax implications of taking ownership of the Spark token, which many of you listening are doing. I fully intend to still do it, but it just seems like a disgusting money grab from the government. Like, you'll see what I mean. But anyway, check a look at this quote from Ray Dalio. Based both on how things have worked historically and what is happening now, I am confident that tax changes will also play an important role in driving capital flows to different investment assets and different locations, and those movements will influence market movements. Yeah, absolutely. And so wait till I get into the specifics, but that's why I shared with you at the outset. For me, depending on what passes here and what situation I'm in, it could absolutely affect the degree to which I'm willing to long-term or even short-term hold crypto. Anyway, the billionaire forecasts that shocking taxes directed at Bitcoin and gold will be part of the new economic policies. And here's a quote. If history and logic are to be a guide, policymakers who are short of money will raise taxes and won't like these capital movements out of debt assets and into other storehold of wealth assets and other tax domains, so they could very well impose prohibitions against capital movements to other assets like gold, Bitcoin, etc., and other locations. These tax changes could be more shocking than expected. Yeah, and so look, if the government wants to have more money, there's really two primary things they can do. They can tax, or they can print more dollars. Now, when you're talking about printing more dollars, it's tantamount to a tax anyway, because it reduces the purchasing power of the dollars that you hold. Sounds kind of similar to a tax, right? It's just it's targeted. It's just across the board, so it's less targeted, but it functionally has the same effect. And it's just interesting that there's less of an outcry from people when there's a massive printing of dollars, as opposed to when we're saying, no, we're going to take this from you. It goes to your to you on payroll, and then we're taking it back. People hate that, but they seem to care less. That's my just my observation. They seem to care a little bit less when it's just dollars being printed. But functionally, results in the very similar outcomes, very similar. And so Dalio says he's worried that the new tax policies might drive capital out of the United States. And here's a final quote. The United States could become perceived as a place that is inhospitable to capitalism and capitalists. Though this specific wealth tax bill is unlikely to pass this year, the chances of a sizable wealth tax bill passing over the next few years are significant. Exactly. And so even if we get through this market cycle, which is likely the case, without any sort of onerous additional taxes on us here in the United States, I don't know that we're going to be so lucky when the next market cycle comes around if what is being proposed ultimately comes to pass. And I actually brought this up, mind you, so this is a new article that just came out. But even days before that, I put out this tweet. And by the way, I want to be clear, I'm not being political about this. I promise I'm not going to preach political ideology. That is not the purpose of this. I'm just going to talk to you about real tax implications based on policies that have been proposed and set forth. And the implications on us as holders of cryptocurrency specifically. That's where my interest is here. This is not a political channel, and don't worry, I'm not going to be preaching anything to you. I'm just going to share with you my honest opinions in terms of what's happening and could happen as a result of this proposed legislation, these tax policies. And so here on March 15th, days ago, you can see I tweeted out the following. This would financially hit many crypto investors in a big way when it comes time to pay taxes. And so it links to this article here, which was from Fox Business, and it's titled, Biden reportedly planning first major tax hike since 1993 and next economic package. And so it's not just that there's crazy amounts of money being printed, it's that they're actually explicitly targeting here right now. And so if you end up making a crazy amount of money from taking like absurd risk in investing in crypto, because let's be real, investing in crypto is risky. If you do that and you get really big profits, they're going to snatch up a ton of it if this type of thing passes here. And you can see the plan changes include a corporate tax rate to 28% from 21%, raising the income tax rate on individuals earning more than $400,000, expanding the estate tax, creating a higher capital gains tax rate for individuals earning at least $1 million annually, and paring back tax preferences for so-called pass-through businesses. And so think about this. If you hold crypto for less than a year, my understanding is that if you hold it for less than a year, then you're going to be taxed at whatever your income bracket is. So what if you have a few cryptos that go nuts, like 10 or 50, 100-fold increase, and depending on how much you put in, let's say you are past that $400,000 level, you're going to lose a substantial portion of this because now you're Mr. Moneybags. Even if it's only going to be for that year, it doesn't matter. That's what's reported on your tax return. And they don't care. They don't care that it's a one-time thing. They don't care that you didn't come from money. None of that stuff. You're just going to straight up get hit here. And here's the reason that I have a problem with this. And I don't care if you're on the left or the right politically. I say we should be able to be friends regardless because that's not what this channel is about. But regardless of whether you're on the left or the right, just recognize that we historically, and I understand things are different because of the economic impact we've had because of the pandemic, of course. But if you look back to what was the situation before that, and this is not to be pro any administration over the other, I'm just stating facts here. But if you go to investors.com here's a headline from October 16, 2018. You can look up similar information for 2019 and 2017. The headline is, Go Figure, Federal Revenues Hit All-Time Highs Under Trump Tax Cuts. And so ultimately what happens is, yes, there were tax cuts, but that there's enough economic activity that was spurred that it resulted in the federal government taking in all-time high revenue. They were taking in all-time high tax revenue while taxing at a lower percentage. And despite the fact that they were taking in all-time highs, and this is where it gets disgusting, and I don't care if you're on the left or the right, we can all agree on this. I hope so. They were spending out of control. They were taking in all-time highs in terms of revenue and spending substantially more than was being taken in. And so I'm sitting here looking at this, and I'm like, okay, so I'm taking a risk. And, in crypto, I could lose everything. But if I don't lose everything and I go through all the stress of the years and years holding and this and that, and then if this legislation passes and I get taxed heavily, and maybe I only make that type of money for 1 year in my entire life, and the government deserves it when they're spending out of control, even when they had all-time highs before the pandemic, they were still spending out of control. Like, is this not disgusting to any of you? Because, I mean, you know, it's easier to say when it's somebody else, oh, yeah, soak the rich. Well, you're going to be the rich. You know, do you understand this? Like, you're going to be potentially, you know, if you play your cards right here in crypto, you absolutely can be. And not that it even happens to most people, but my gosh, talk about the opportunity for asymmetrical returns. We know historically that is here. And so I don't care if you're on the left or the right. That's, again, I keep saying that because I want to, the reason I say this, I understand politics is a touchy point, and so I'm not trying to be preachy at all. I'm just trying to say, hey, we should be able to have some common ground here. The government is being ridiculous and they want more. Why don't they do with less? Why are they asking us to do with less? Why don't they do with less? It's gross to me. You know? And so in looking at all of this, and you know, Ray Dalio, I'm sorry, man, like, he's hitting the nail on the head, unfortunately. This is what they're doing. This is absolutely what they're doing. It's one way to continue to try and hang on to the ranks here. So I just want to warn you, because if something like this passes, I tell you, the amount of money, like the risk versus reward profile changes, you know, because what happens is the federal government here is they're heavily incentivizing behavior, and I just don't see how they deserve. Like, I'm not against paying taxes, mind you, of course. I understand that. I'm fine with that. But when they're abusing the money that's given to them and then they ask for even more, then I start to say, what the hell are you talking about? You want the people to do with less, but you want to keep putting money into all sorts of insane stuff? Holy hell. No, thank you. And getting into the types of crazy stuff they spend money on would be outside the scope of this video, but do some research. There's some really there's something silly. I can't remember how many years ago. There was something like, there was research done from, I believe it was from the federal government. You'll have to Google this, but it was something like, it just popped in my head now. I didn't know I was going to talk about this, but it was like, research was done about, there's something about shrimp running on a treadmill. I think it was shrimp. I apologize if I'm way off. Just Google shrimp on a treadmill. I bet it'll pop up. But like, like they spend the money on the stupidest stuff. And there's all sort of backroom deals, this and that, people patting each other's backs. It's just gross here. And so they want to take it from who? Well, from you, I guess, potentially. And so then you can take a look at this too. So with the tax of the Spark token, if we could just talk about that a little bit too here. My fellow XRP YouTuber Alex Cobb wrote, OMG, Spark contracts are at $1.16. And that was on March 15th. And he's talking about the Spark token IOU at $1.16. Ended up blasting past $2. I don't know what the current price is, but I didn't check before recording, but way, way, way up. And somebody responded to Alex and wrote, I can't believe the airdrop is only 15% initially, like WTF. David Schwartz, Ripple CTO co-creator of the XRP Ledger, responded to that and wrote, that creates huge tax implications for people. Somebody responded to David's comment there and wrote, I think the first drop of 15% won't come with a tax because it doesn't have a price discovery when they mint the first coins and distribute them, but I could be wrong. And check out what David Schwartz had to say about this. He wrote back and said, right, that's why it's awful to delay past that. Because, oh yeah, you're right. So it becomes, effectively, it becomes an airdrop to governments and forces people to sell immediately to cover taxes. And he writes, I would be forced to sell about 35% to pay taxes. And if I don't sell first and the price drops below the price when I received, I have to sell even more just to pay taxes. I'm sure I'm not the only one. It's a bad idea, hurts everyone, and only helps the government. Yeah, so certainly if you're in the United States, that's true. And then he wrapped up by writing, airdrop with no value, U.S. recipients are incentivized to hold for a year to get long-term capital gains treatment, airdrop after, and they must sell immediately to pay taxes. And so here's what I had found, and I had mentioned this at least in one other video probably months ago. This is from, what's the website? CoinTracker. And so they were talking here about the Spark token a little bit. Like, they're talking about crypto airdrops and the tax implications in general, but they did mention the Spark token as well. And so check out how bad this gets. This is how much of a money grab it is. The IRS has specified that new coins received through an airdrop are taxed as ordinary income. Therefore, you owe income taxes on new coins you have in your wallet as a result of an airdrop, regardless of whether you intended to own these coins or not. That's right. So if somebody gives you an airdrop and you didn't know it, you're still responsible. So just be aware of that. Anyway, the amount of income is the fair market value of the airdropped coins at the time they are received in the wallet. And then they write note here. This is a pretty bold stance from the IRS and can result in you owing income taxes on your cryptocurrency, even if you are just a hodler, holding coins without proactively making any transactions. And so it gets bad. So stick with me. I'm going to spout some numbers off here that are within this article, and it's bad. So let's look at an example. Say Max has 1,000 XRP on Coinbase, and he receives 1,000 Spark tokens airdropped by the Flare network. He needs to report the newly received tokens as taxable ordinary income, not a capital gain. This is true whether or not Max sells the token. So think about it. If this is airdropped to you and you have it, even if you don't sell it, you still have to pay taxes on it. So check this out. Let's say the fair market value of a Spark token at the time it's received is $5. Yes, one Spark token, this is hypothetical. Let's stick with me though. One Spark token's worth $5. He will have to pay ordinary income taxes on $5,000. So where'd the $5,000 come from? Well, you just take the $5 that's the market rate when it was airdropped times the quantity held, which is 1,000, and that's $5,000 worth of Spark tokens. So you have to pay taxes on that. Think about that. You didn't sell it. You have not realized profit, but the government's coming in and saying you owe taxes. This is part of your income. You owe us taxes. And then they write, it gets worse though. Check it out. In addition, the amount Max reports as ordinary income becomes his basis for the new Spark, $5,000, and he will use it to calculate capital gains / losses if / when he sells his Spark in the future. So think about it. So let's say you pay your taxes, but you still hold it. So you have to scrounge up the money from somewhere out of the rest of your ordinary income to hold it. And mind you, the price of Spark could just tank and go to zero. But if you want to take the risk, you can do it. You can keep holding. And so then let's say you hold a year in the United States. If you hold for at least a year, then you'd be taxed under, instead of being taxed under whatever your bracket is, you'd be taxed under capital gains, which maxes out, I believe, at 20. I believe it's 20%. Which is a lot less than it would otherwise be. Like, say you're in one of the top brackets, yeah, well then it would be substantially worse. So it's good if you can hold on for a year. So then you've already paid taxes based off your ordinary income just when it was airdropped for that calendar year. Then if you want to sell it, then even if you wait for a year, then it's going to be 20%. So imagine that it becomes worth a fortune. Even let's just say your Spark tokens become worth a total of $100,000. You have to give an additional $20,000 then to the government. There you go. And these are really risky markets too. And it's just like, is the government going to assume the loss for you? Of course not. If it doesn't go well, no. But they sure as hell are going to come in and take a crazy amount of this if it goes well. It just seems like, and so I wouldn't have as much of a problem with the taxes if the United States government were a responsible steward of taxes. But they're not. We're continually running deficits, and now with the runaway spending, this is why people are viewing cryptocurrency as a safe haven, frankly. And they're just continuing to debase the United States dollar. The purchasing power just keeps going down and down and down, and it's going to lead to increased inflation rates year over year. Just mark my words. I'm not trying to panic anybody. I'm not saying there's going to be hyperinflation anytime soon. Some people think so. I'm not actually convinced of that for a number of reasons, but still, it's bad regardless. And so that's why when I look at this, it's like legal theft. It's tantamount to theft. It's not technically theft because it's the government and they can do whatever the hell they want from a legal perspective. The government, writes the laws, but ethically, it doesn't feel much different. It does not feel much. It seems like too much. And again, with the way that they're just abusing it, and it's not one side of the aisle, mind you, in the United States, it's the left and the right that continue to run up crazy deficits regardless of how much money is taken in. So I just say it's like if you're running a household, you're responsible to make sure that you're not racking up crazy credit card debt and this and that. And it's just to you to make sure that you're being responsible with funds. But when it comes to the federal government, it's just like, no, we can just tax you and we can keep printing more money and we can continue to be irresponsible and we can continue to give your funds that we're taking from you to shrimp on a treadmill or whatever the hell that thing was that I'm recalling from years ago. Because why the hell not? You see what I'm saying here? So just be careful out there. Make sure you talk to a tax professional here because there are going to be some serious implications. And I'm sure a lot of you listening are going to make a fortune from crypto. I do not doubt that one bit. But you're going to lose a ton of it if you're in the United States for sure. And I don't know I have no idea if it's better or worse in other countries around the world. I'm just not informed on that in terms of tax implications. I know there are definitely some places that are way more friendly from a tax perspective when it comes to crypto. I kind of get the sense just from anecdotally from things I've seen that the United States is comparatively not that friendly, but I do need to admittedly learn more on that topic. That's just the way it's struck me to this point here. So how about that? Try that on for size. I don't know, guys. I'd love to hear what you think. I'm open-minded here. It's just like, and like I said, it's not about a left or a right thing. It's about an irresponsibility thing. And then the government saying more. I say no. So you let me know what you think. But I'll wrap up there. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.